Hey, Grace House Churches, hopefully you have enjoyed dinner, and now we can have a conversation about God's heart for the nations. So this is week 4 of the Vision series. So briefly, we put forth a thesis in week 1 saying God created you to make and multiply disciples of all nations. Week 2, we said, what is a disciple and how do we make them? And we talked about being with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, doing what Jesus did. And then last week, Pastor Scott spent the whole sermon on just what does it mean to be with Jesus so we don't go do mission without abiding in Christ. And this week we focused on what does it mean to make disciples of all nations. So in Matthew chapter 14, there's a miracle that Jesus does that serves as like a metaphor for his design for his disciples, almost like a prequel to the Great Commission. So he gathers everyone, they're teaching all night and gets late into the night and everyone's hungry. And so the disciples say, hey, everyone's hungry. And Jesus says, you give them something to eat. They find 5 loaves and 2 fish. They bring it to Jesus. He blesses it, breaks it, multiplies it, gives it back to the disciples. They feed everyone, and there's 12 baskets left over. So we took from that a couple of principles that apply to us getting from where we are to all nations. And the first one is that Jesus expects his disciples to participate in the mission. He says, you feed them. The disciples knew his power, but they didn't trust his sufficiency, and they were learning how to let God work through them. Secondly, we recognize that Jesus multiplies what we surrender. He knew it wasn't enough. It's not enough food to feed everyone. He doesn't get mad at them or make fun of them for their insufficiency. He receives it, he blesses it, breaks it, and multiplies it. And then lastly, we see that Christ satisfies the nations through his disciples. He gives the food back to them. They're the ones that distribute it, and there's 12 baskets left over. And so this picture, this literal miracle that becomes a metaphor, is Jesus' way of saying, I'm going to take what you offer me, though it's not enough. I'm going to bless it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to break it. I'm going to multiply it. And I'm going to give it back to you so that you can distribute it for my glory in all nations. Because if you think of Matthew 28, it's what he says, go make disciples of all nations. And they have this moment of like, it's basically Jesus saying, you feed them. And they're like, how do we do that? Well, you give Christ what you have and let him use it. And so that picture is where we are at as a church, that we want to offer Christ what we have so that it might be used in all nations. And we spent the second half of the sermon talking about the great need in the world amongst unreached people groups and unengaged people groups. And this essentially means that there are 3.2 billion people in the world who don't even know a Christian, who have no access to the gospel. They will live, live, and die without ever hearing about Jesus. And when God looks down at the world, he says, you feed them. You get involved in the game. You participate. And so as a church, we have a couple different missions teams that are being raised up to go to unengaged people groups. And we want to pray for them, support them, come alongside them financially, emotionally, serving their marriages, and just making sure they feel equipped and supported. And so church, now as we talk about this, what does it mean to surrender what you have? What does it mean when you think about like all of the burden in the world, the lostness of the world? Like, where does your mind go? And how can we be a church that has a culture of God's heart for the nations and a culture of surrendering what we have so that Jesus can use it for his glory?